pantries, and a very beautiful kitchen that was solar powered. But it took a lot of love and a lot of faith and a lot of fundraising, and everything we put our heart and our intentions to was validated when I pursued Tuolpagi and talked with Orville Looking Horse, who is the pet carrier for the White Buffalo Calf bundle. And I had informed him of the medicine I carry, the chanupa that I carry, and the intentions that I had. And I had initially just wanted to ask to use a sweat lodge. So I was looking for the appropriate sweat lodge to use, and I was following protocol. And I didn't realize that I was going to be directed to have a sit down. And we followed through with our ceremony, and he had told me that this has been said, this has been part of the prayer, is that we would find that balance between being human beings. The two-spirit folks were going to come and bring that balance to camp, and that we would continue carrying ceremony, and that camp would fall down around us while the two-spirit nation stood strong and carried ceremonies forward and led by example. And that's exactly what happened. We continue to be the heartbeat in the center of camp, and we continue to help each of the camps as we formed one big family. We became siblings, and we continued to be the camp that reminded folks about ceremony and prayer. And in times of so many trauma filled nights, actions, events, meetings, we continue to always come back to that heartbeat and the initial protection, why we were there, to Mini-Wachoni, and to also continue carrying the lessons and continue to rebalance the moments. And so for myself, I was there to initiate this camp, to give an offering, which I did, and to also, most of all, bring this two-spirit nation together and to put out the call. And that's what happened. You know, I put out the call both on social media and in whichever ways I could, and folks came. And that's how I first met a lot of the people who came. You know, they heard from another person, or they seen the post, or they just started to see and hear about a safe space for Indigenous LGBTQ folks, or for our allies to come and be the water protectors, to be those warriors wholeheartedly, authentically, without having to hide or having to put your flame a little bit lower than usual. So, you know, I wanted to also continue carrying ceremonies and empowering each and every spirit that came to camp, because it was about the people, the Oyate, those who came to camp to fulfill their prayers, to fulfill the call that they heard, and to continue embracing who they could be wholeheartedly and authentically in a safe space, wrapped in ceremony and prayer amongst other water protectors. So that was you know, the basis of my intentions. So I want to also give each of these folks here time to speak and step back, because each of the people that lived at camp, who were there long term, who were there even for a week or a couple weeks, the very beginning of camp, we were absolutely an infant. We weren't sure what direction or how it was going to look, but then we grew, and each week and each month we doubled in size, we tripled in strength, and we continued to show what two-spirit warriors look like. So I want to probably begin with our elder here, Phoenix, because they were the very first person who reached out to me. The very first person. And you know, they had said they wanted to be a part of what was coming to fruition, and also wanted to give some guidance, and also just wanted to be a part of the beauty that was happening in the medicine. And so Phoenix was there when the seed was planted, and the rest of these beautiful spirits helped nourish it.
First of all, I want to do you some tobacco. Which all would put you to. And to all of you that have been to camp. It's been very powerful. I first came to camp in September, and there was no Two-Spirit anything. Fortunately, I brought a couple of pride flags with me, and if you've ever been there, you'll see the main road into camp called Flag Road, and all of these flags were up there as the different nations would have come in, they'd plant their flags. So I planted my rainbow flag there and said, I'm going to camp right here, and hopefully the Two-Spirits will find me. And it wasn't until I left camp that I brought my flag that I had with me at my camp, took it down, and all of a sudden Two-Spirits started coming up and saying, I'm sorry that, we didn't see you, we didn't catch up with you. And there was so much wanting, I guess, by the people that were there to be together. And so then the call came out for the second time to be there. And I'm thinking, yes, the Two-Spirits have arrived. So myself and two other elders, Sade from the East Coast, and Beverly, Little Thunder from the East Coast also, and also Alma. We were able to coordinate a lot of the basic camp needs, and we arrived ahead of time, ahead of folks here, and we set up our camp, and we got that welcoming, and we encouraged those around. And we really appreciated all that he did. I was there for the infancy, to get things going, and it just has blossomed so beautifully. To see how these younger people have come into the camp and made such an honoring place for everyone to come and join. It's made my heart feel so, so wonderful. So I want to say thanks to all of you. Thanks, a special thanks to Dandelion, who spent 6 months out there in the middle of the winter and is actually going back next week. So there's been a lot of people that has come through that camp, and you guys just made it beautiful. So Miigwech, thank you. Thank you.
And before that, I also brought you some tobacco and an honoring gift as well. I want to thank you for your guidance and your continued guidance, because this is a necklace that was honored and gifted to me whenever I received the Spirit of Portland Award for Community Leader of the Year this past December from the Native American Youth and Family Center. And they had talked about how, the spirituality component and then also the education component that I carry. And there was a time when I received your scholarship through the Pride Foundation. And so I wanted to honor you and thank you for your journey as one of our Two-Spirit elders who led the way for us. I think, or maybe Andre was there since August.
Hi, I'm Andre. Yeah, I don't know. My journey, leading up to getting to the Two-Spirit Nation was kind of like rocky, and didn't even know it was going to happen. I was, just got done doing the longest walk, war on drugs and domestic violence, and got home and started getting into trouble again. And I started seeing things on Facebook about Standing Rock, and so I told my mom that I'd like to go to Standing Rock and that we should go up there. And so we went up there, and we were there for a couple of days, and it was like before Ocheti was even there. Everything was all that sacred stone, and people were cram-packed in there. And we were there for a few days, and we left, and you know, I told Mom I wanted to go back and stay, and so and I had a dog at home, so I had to find arrangements, and I ended up coming back, and I was camped there on the river for like a month, 2 months, and I seen Courage one day, and I was just getting ready to go to an action, but I missed my ride, so things happen for a reason, I guess, and Courage comes and finds me and was like, hey, go get ready, we're gonna have Two-Spirit Grand Entry.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what? Okay. And so I went to my tent, got ready, and I met up with Candy and Phoenix, I think was there, and we stood up at the top and just waited forever to for our turn to come down, and But anyways, it was since then Candy, I don't know, Candy seen something in me and asked me to join the camp and to come camp. And it was kind of, I don't know, for me it was a hard decision, because I had been there by myself, pretty much the whole time I was there. But I made the decision to move and packed up and joined the Two-Spirit Nation, and they were really, really supportive. Because there was a day that, I don't know what's his name, Minkasi was like, hey, okay, let's move up here, we're moving, and made the North Camp, and a few of us from the Two-Spirit Camp went and held a spot up there and represented up there for a while until they took our stuff down. But yeah, it's just a blessing to be here and to have met Candy and everyone, and I'm just excited.
Okay. All right. So what are we saying? Just what we learned and whatever.
Why are you?
What? Well, I'm Yo-Yo. I'm Yo-Yo. Okay. So I came to Cheti Shakoni around in November. I was planning on being there for a week, and then I never left. And that happened a lot to people, but it was interesting because it was just really sacred that things got amplified. For me, even the river and the mud, it felt things that you might take for granted. You just saw it and felt it, and I even put it in my ears because I didn't want to hear anything. I just wanted to hear the spirits and feel that connection. And so it was really cool to have conversations with the mud and the river and all the elements that were there, because it was just it was beautiful, that feeling. And so it makes a lot of sense, why for myself, why I didn't want to leave. And it makes so much sense why just the history of that land and how much love and how much fierceness and passion. And I guess that's what sacred is, right? The sacredness, and that's why it's so important to defend. So, yeah, I didn't leave because it felt like I was literally gonna die if I left. My soul or my spirit would stay there, and I would just be a shell. So it was dope to feel that kind of amazing purpose beyond what I thought was gonna happen when I got there. And I remember that one of the first few nights that, first few nights that I was there was this action happening. And, for me, I was coming with the idea of, okay, a warrior looks like this, a warrior does this, and it's ready to go. Dapple's right there, let's go. And so the action was happening, but so was all this other action, right? All this, which happened a lot, was a lot of feelings. A lot of, oh crap, they're gonna read us right now, or they're gonna plan something, I don't know, just all these different actions and reactions, and you could feel it, I could feel it. So when that action was happening, I was like, yeah, let's go, but there's just so much chaos, and then that caused my own confusion, and I started getting really angry at myself, because I was like, no, a warrior looks like this, and does this. And at that time, there was an action happening and a sweat happening that Candy had invited us to, or I was hosting, doing that, and so I remember working really hard to just calm my own self down, And I was like, okay, I just need to listen and relax. And they told me, no, it's not time to go yet. You have something else to learn right now. And it was at night, and I had no idea where anything was at the camp, but I had this feeling. I think it's because I let go and was listening that I was gonna find the sweat. So like I walked through the camp and I found it without any no trouble. And after that, after going through the sweat and feeling whatever I had to feel, after that immediately, like I felt just like this armor, this invisible spirit armor that I didn't have before I went. And when we ended up going to the action after that, and I just share with people that spiritual armor, that one where you're connected with beyond your human self so that you can be a better human, like that sacredness and that ritual, that ceremony, like it really does something, because I felt so protected and just well suited. It wasn't like what Dapple was wearing. It wasn't helmets and like mace and all these like heavy duty machinery and cars and vehicles. It was ancestors. They were there, and it was just amazing because there was like bullets flying past me, and unfortunately I didn't get hit, but a lot of other people did. But anyway, that's what I was trying to say, is just that spiritual armor. That's been pretty amazing. So I have a lot to tell. I have a lot of stories. I learned a lot, so I'm gonna pass it on though. Sure.
We talked a lot. You know. But something I did want to say about the spiritual armor. Victor Fuentes was visiting us from the Red Warrior Society a couple weeks ago, and something that he mentioned that I had also seen but didn't really think anything of was he was showing pictures of people when we were at Turtle Island and people getting maced in the water, and how up close people are. And how there's that spiritual armor, because as soon as the wind shifts and it hits the police officers in the face, they can't handle it, right? They're just like, they're like throwing up, they're like falling like dominoes. They don't have that sort of spiritual armor that it kind of takes to be there. So that's real.
Yeah, one thing that I was thinking about earlier was when I was asked about the first action that I went to, the one at Turtle Island. Was the power of collective prayer, because as people were telling people not to shoot, not to mace, speaking out to the officers, the drum was also going, and the drum, and there's a lot of lessons around the drum, but one is that it's the heartbeat. It's the one beat that we all recognize because we all sit in a room, and that represents the heartbeat of our mother and why we were there to protect it, but that that there was prayer happening simultaneously, and there was people at that action that I went to, the first action, and people were dancing I was dancing on the riverbank, because those songs are ceremonial, those songs are traditional, those songs are our heartbeats, and like as soon as I heard that, for me it was like, yeah, I don't know. It was like it was a whole other experience of like, yeah, I was scared because they were pointing guns at us, and other people were getting hit with these rubber bullets that left welts. I mean, people are still healing from those things. But just of like, I don't know, something overcame me that I wasn't scared because we were all there together, and that drum was there, and it was like, yeah, this was really powerful, and I felt like I felt empowered to like stand my ground, and along with all the other people that were there. But that was something that was throughout, and we have a protocol around that, and that just like brought it up to me.
Andre, I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about your experience at the North Camp and the things that happened to your belongings, and if you want to talk about a little bit about what happened.
So like the North Camp, I don't know, I guess everything happened so fast for that camp, you know, and you know, a lot of people moved and a lot of people didn't move. I just remember being there for like 4 days, and on the 4th day I got back from doing something and there was a meeting going on, and they were telling everybody like, hey, if you got sacred items or anything, you know, you might want to get them packed up and ready to put in a car tomorrow because they're going to come sometime and they're going to start raiding. And I really didn't believe them at first. And so, but until like it was all already happening, and so like I'm in my tent trying to gather some things that I don't know, take in or whatever, got them into a vehicle, and you know, shortly after, you know, the police, they just kept pushing people back, and you know, tearing people out of ceremony, a lot of people getting mazed, and I don't know, it was just, I seen a video of it one day, and I was almost in tears, you know, a lot of the stuff, like, you know, looking back, you know, it's hard to watch. You know, the cops, they pissed and shit on all of our clothes and all of our belongings that were at the North Camp, and then had the nerve for us, you know, to give them back, you know, and so it was like really nasty. So I just like left some of my stuff, like, you know. And then the night I got arrested, January 19th, there was like, I don't know what's going on up there, but all I heard is like they need people to like de-escalate a situation, you know, that was happening up there. And so like, I was like, well, should we go, you know, let's go up there and go check it out. But by the time we got up there, that situation was already de-escalated. And it was just like, I don't know, we put up another teepee, that teepee got put up. And just like right after the teepee got put up, Candy was, you know, and I see how, and I know what candy means because like they said that it looked like spiders came running out of the sides. You know, as soon as that teepee got put up, the cops, they just came out from both sides of the river and, you know, were like charging towards us. And, you know, a lot of people, you know, had shields, and Candy with her 2 bands standing out front. And, you know, and I was really worried about Candy getting shot. And I'm like, yo, we better get Candy, you know. And so finally,
She didn't want to go.
And so there was like a line of people with their shields, and there was somebody standing here, and I was like, can I have your shield so I can go up there and stand, because you're not even standing with the other shields. And that person said no, and just they went and stood up there, and we were all backing up, and so there's like a line here of people with shields, Candy, Yo-Yo, and then me, and another line of people back here, and we were like taking steps back slowly, and then all of a sudden, like everybody threw their shields down on the ground and took off running, and people were stepping on us, like the people, like the ones that were like right behind the people with the shields. They just like, I don't know, some people got pushed over and stepped on.
But we had our hands up, and we were telling them, don't shoot. And I had my Eagle fans up, and they were like, get here to the couch, and they shot us anyways.
And yeah, so my thing was like, I was there for what, 7 months or 6 months at that time, and I like never was considered arrestable or wanted to get arrested because of some things that I had back home, some issues. And I said, but like unless it's absolutely needed. And that night I felt like that I just knew I was going to get arrested, and it happened to be like Candy was one of the ones that got pushed down and stepped on real bad. And, I was one of the ones that helped get Candy up and get them out of the way, and just as I was getting ready to go, I felt somebody on my legs, and I thought it was somebody that had fallen and wanted help up so they can get away too, so I turned around to like try and help them up, and then 2 more cops came and tackled me down. And it was a cop that had my legs. But yeah, and like at that point I was just like, you know, there's nothing I can do, you know, I don't know. I accepted in that moment like what was going to happen, and I knew I had to be quiet, you know, because I see all these other people that are getting arrested, and they're yelling and screaming at the cops, and you know, the cops are treating them really, you know, bad because they're doing that. So I just like was quiet, you know, and they asked if, you know, if my handcuffs were too tight or if they needed to be loosened, and I was like, I'm okay, you know. And I don't know, just like walking back, watching everybody else like get away and see how many people like they actually had arrested that day. It was just crazy and cold, and yeah.
there was canisters of tear gas going off all around. So you forgot that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they threw our drones in the fire.
Yeah, and all of the attacks were always very malicious. They were, you know, they actually escalated from the very beginning whenever we could pray in front of them, and they would just stand there and allow it, and then there would be negotiations, and then we would get to the end of our prayer, and then we both would retreat. There was always folks who were instigating and also being out there to just agitate, but we were there continuously reminding each other, we're here to pray, we're here because we know we are unarmed. We are here to pray in a prayerful way. But every single time, like that night, me and Yo-Yo put up a teepee, and yeah, we put up a teepee with the flag upside down, hanging, you know, flying at the top. And there was nobody out there, just, we had happened to pull in, and we followed this truck, because I thought it was some of my siblings from Ovala camp, and I was like, let's go down there, they might be singing, and I want to go sing. So we went down there, and it ended up being these 3 young boys from the Rosebud camp. We watched them, and I was like, let's just watch them, let's see what's going on, because they're all by themselves right in front of Olive Chapel. Let's see what they're doing. And so they were trying to put up this teepee, and I was like, they need help. So me and Yo-Yo went out there, and we told them we'll teach them how to put it up, because they didn't know how to put up the teepee. So we gave them the lesson, and we put it up, and then at the very top we put that flag. Then we told them we'll be back later. You know, we got to go back to camp and get ready for supper and have our evening prayer meeting. And we left, and when we heard that call, we came back, and they had said, like, 15 minutes after you guys left, all these DAPL officers came and took down the teepee, and they took it back across, you know, the barricade. So from that moment, I knew something wasn't okay for them to just come and take it down and then confiscate it the way they did. And so later that night, when we put up the second teepee, they came back and they're excited when they saw us singing on the front line, and they came up to me and Yo-Yo, I'm like, got another teepee, just put up another teepee. So we went and put that teepee up, and the moment we put it up, they came for that teepee again. And that's what initiated just that night I seen, you know, in really dark spirit, very up close, and how they didn't speak at all. They went from speaking with us, just a few nights before that, we sang and we prayed with some DAPL officers, but these ones were a lot different. After the Trump administration came in, we saw it and we felt it. We felt the brutalness in their anger and in their fear. And these officers that night, they didn't talk at all. They didn't say one sound to us. They were silent, and they came to hurt us and to arrest us. And they came to, their intentions were to, you know, break our spirit, because they came and Yo-Yo had a drum, and when we got trampled, they took every piece of sacreds and threw it into the fire, including those teepee poles. They broke them up and put them in the fire. And that was part of their tactic, because further down the road, we were also part of the Last Child camp, the Last Child ceremony that was put up on the hill with the 7 teepees, which ended up being 6 teepees, which ended up being the teepees that came from Two-Spirit Nation. We volunteered our teepees to be a part of this. So something that is very historical. That picture, that's my, what's it called again? The cover page on my profile with the teepees on the top of the hill, and then the tank at the bottom with all of the DAPL officers hiding behind it. You can, if you look close, there's a rainbow flag at the top flying on the top of one of those teepees. So that's part of this historical path that we wanted to pave for our future generations, future Two-Spirit leaders, to continue embracing that sacredness and also reclaiming our place, because we are validated, you know, by the spirits through ceremony and also through our siblings that would keep the shop going. And that was something else that was very huge and continues to be, is that we not only grew the spirit and medicine that each individual person carries, but also educated and impacted nations and generations on what Two-Spirit means and how sacred the walk of a Two-Spirit life is. And so, you know, I see one of our siblings over here. I can't remember his name, he's on his phone. You know, and you know, we met him through the He was part of the Flash Child action that we worked in. But you know, to see our siblings whenever we come into spaces, it warms your heart because it makes you feel a little bit closer to home, a little bit closer to that Ocheki Shako.
Yeah, sure. Cool. Well, something important about that action night too is hopefully these can help because don't want to scare anybody. I mean, y'all already know how brutal cops in the States are, right? Cops in the States. But what I learned from that night too is like after all that foolishness happened and our sibling got taken, Candy was like, we ran right after like all that. It was like a movie, and Candy was like, we gotta go back. So what? So we gotta go back, and we're not gonna let them take our spirit. We're not gonna let them traumatize our spirit. We're gonna go say that. We're gonna pray. We're gonna call our names so that we don't walk away traumatized. I was like, oh my gosh, that's down. And okay, let's go. So we took it was us both and some of our allies, and it was cool because we listened to stage. And Candy was like, you know, calling our names forward, and when she was doing that, like I was like, yeah, you know, I see all this brutality, I see it, but I'm not gonna let it faze me, and I'm gonna verbally say it, and not verbally say it. I'm gonna pray, and I'm gonna leave it here, and just let it rest and not stick on me, you know. So I thought that was cool. It's something I learned, and I wanted to share with y'all.
It's getting late, so I want to see if anybody has any questions for Spirit Nation, and then we also have our dear Elder Sweetwater here who's going to talk to you a little bit before we end the night. And of course, I want to thank you, like you said, see people outside of camp doing the Spirit back here, so I'm very happy to see you all, and very honored that you could make this tonight. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody have any last words?
I would do it all over in a heartbeat. I would do it all over in a heartbeat.
Yeah, so would I. Minnie with Shani, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Sweetwater. So much. Thank you everyone for being here, sticking around the whole time.
Chish Tikiam Pavu, enough Chish Hashagamia, enough Chish Hashuka Hayayani. Thank the Creator, thank the Great Spirit, I thank our ancestors for this day. Sinuksini Chad Duasak, Gishbu Wada Ayachat, Kiksari Yari Chatsati, Sikwe Dachak, Ashik Yechari Khan Nanyaish Takin Kwana. My name is Sweetwater Nanop. I'm from the Kilauea clan of the Tsimshian Nation from Alaska. My father's from the Raven Frog clan from the Tlingit Nation. And I'm a grandchild of the Glacier People clan. My great-grandmother, Yeshari Twa, was a precious grandchild of the Upper Living People clan from the Stikine River. And I'm honored to be here and stand with my relatives, you know, for being out there, bringing our good prayers and medicines, and standing with our relatives out there. Standing Rock, you know, we brought all of that back with us. That fires that were started there burned within our hearts. And we're taking these and bringing these teachings and these prayers with us. And thank you for sharing that and those stories. I know it's not easy. It's hard just to watch it for us here back at home and keeping everyone in prayer. I'm the director of Idle No More Washington. I do a lot of work here in Seattle to help decolonize the activism we're doing here. And so I was honored to help with the paddle to Standing Rock in September. We had 17 canoe families from, you know, my canoe family came from Alaska. I got to go with them, and we had relatives coming from all over Idaho, Wyoming, there was one of our elders who helped start the canoe journey that started in 1989 here. We paddled to Seattle, and one of our elders was Tom Heidelbaum, and he shared a teaching and shared a vision, I guess he had back a long time ago, that the canoe nations and the horse people would come together to help save Mother Earth. And so we are the answers to our ancestors' prayers. We're those prayers, we are walking them. And it's a great time to be in, to be able to do this work together. You know, I hear a lot of my friends have come back from Standing Rock. I'm not sure, it's even just from the healing process we're going through right now, it takes a lot. Yeah, I teach a lot too about decolonizing our activism and teaching about the history of colonization regarding Native people, and from the standpoint that we all been colonized. You know, from the Romans colonizing England to them colonizing the Irish, Scotland, and Wales. All that was brought here to our shores too. And so a lot of the work I do is about healing from historical trauma because of that colonization. What's been passed on to us, my ancestors, my parents, in order to do the work, continue how we can do the work that will help to heal that too, be prepared for the next steps, because it's all, it's all right in front of us now, the front lines. So that's a lot of work I do is help, going back to my first work is to work with the youth. For many years, before I started doing all this here, I taught for pretty much every Native youth organization in Seattle. Because I was blessed to grew up our old way. My grandparents had an arranged marriage. They only spoke Tlingit at home to each other. Practically all the food we ate was our traditional foods. My grandfather told us stories every single day. And never forget where we come from. So it's important, and our culture is medicine, and thank you for bringing these prayers and giving us strength to continue. I share from my village back in the late 70s and early 80s, we had the highest suicide rate in the country. And my best friend killed herself. She was 14, I just turned 14. And shortly after that, they started having culture camps there in our village. And the kids would go to these camps for a couple of weeks and learn our language, our songs, our stories, how to prepare our foods, serve meals for the community, and bring the foods to the elders. And they haven't had a suicide in over 23 years. So I really believe that's what the work I do. I incorporate all our teachings from my people and our stories, into that work, because it's important. And I also, encourage everyone else too to remember who you are, your stories, and where you've come from, because that will be healing for you too. And we've all been colonized together. We all have to heal together. And so that's part of it. And I don't know, Standing Rock changed us. I know it changed me. And I feel like bringing what I brought back from Standing Rock was kind of like on a canoe journey. We're always in the moment. That's how it feels when you're there. You're always in the moment. It's just like everything I needed, it would just come to me. I just think about it. It would come to me. And Spirit directing me what to do. And when I got back, I'm like, how? Because everybody I met there too, standing in line for food or something, or visiting, meeting new people, they always say, how can we bring this back with us? We're facing, Nestle is trying to take over our water, or we got fracking, or we got coal trains, or whatever it is. And that's what I prayed about when I came back. It's like, okay, I'm going to stay in this moment, and what do I need to do? It'll come to me. And sure enough, I'll just pray about everything I do every day. I pray about what am I going to do? And so it'll be like, okay, well maybe I'll work with youth and teach 2 days later, even not even that, Sarah will call me up, hey, can you come teach a workshop with our youth and how to make a resolution? You know? So that's how you're knowing you're on the right track. You hear Spirit calling you and you do it, you do the work. Yeah, I hope to help spreading some of this work that I'm doing around too, travel around California, Alaska, Oregon and stuff. And a lot of a lot of what I teach is a good example that Standing Rock is about decolonization, about our spiritual activism. You know, what the work we do comes from our heart and from our spirit, where the white activism, it comes from their ego and from their mind. They're still operating in those colonial systems and structures that perpetuates this colonization, and it's no good. And I'm so glad about that. Sometimes too, I would see there at Standing Rock, somebody would, I call it colonial moments, when we have to deal with patriarchy or privilege or power or tokenism or all these things. That, yeah, I'm glad. See, I'm not the only one. Because here in Seattle, I'd be like, well, I'm not the only one who thinks this, but I'm pretty much the only one who's telling you about it. So if you want to work with Native people, and you come and do this like that to them, they may not say anything to you, but they'll never work with you again. They'll tell all your friends about it. So it is a learning process. It's, I've had to do a lot of my own healing work too, from my historical trauma of my ancestors have gone through boarding schools. There's colonization. On my mother's side, our culture was totally wiped out. A man came from England and took away our culture, our language, our stories, our songs. After living with my Tlingit grandparents, and my grandfather told us stories every day. When I went to visit them, I asked him, I thought, I don't even know any Sipshean stories. So I asked my grandparents, they didn't know any. And I remember feeling like ashamed of that. I felt ashamed. I was just a kid, but now I know that's part of the colonization too. That's that internalized oppression. I didn't know it back then. So it's really important, it's good to see everybody here, and that so many people from Seattle and from all over the world have come out there. And we're coming back, and now, it's time to really, I know we're in the city and back and rush, but we need to take the time to heal. We need to, work on healing that historical trauma. I share the story of my dad when he was in boarding school. He told me how, there's hundreds of, probably thousands of little villages. They take him out of the village, away from their people, and they cut a piece of bone out of his hip, put it right here on his hand. He said they took him out of class and took him over to the hospital. He had a big ugly scar. It's just not even a nice clean scar. It was all jagged like they butchered him. He said he remembered limping around for a few months after that. And I said, Dad, why'd they do that? He said, I don't know. They never told me. They were just experimenting on me. But that historical trauma was passed on to me. And I like to bring that up because sometimes when the historical trauma, like we're trying to balance it out. Maybe my work is trying to balance it out. So ever since I was a little kid, and I like to share the stories with the youth, that I spoke up when I was a kid, and it's just speaking the truth. I never told people what to do, but I tell them, I never learned English, I never learned math, I skipped all the first hour of class. But here I am, I got the highest grades, what does that mean? And they, what they did was getting rid of our bad teachers and getting good teachers. Maybe our kids had a better education after me. So I like to share that with our youth too, like they have a voice. So a lot of the work I do is I'll invite our young people to come speak at my events, and now they're taking off. They're organizing their own rallies and marches and speaking at everybody else's events, you know. So that's important. What we're doing today is not for us. You know, as our elders say, for our children and our children's children. So it inspires me for the work I do, because to see our young people stepping up and doing that good work, you know, and I appreciate it. Many times, because of dealing with colonization and all the colonial moments I've had, I've wanted to quit, and I did quit for a while, for several months. Especially some of these organizations in Seattle. I'm looking at some people who are part of those right now, you know who they are, pretty much all of them. But there's hope that they can change. There is hope that people can change, and that's how we reach them, with our heart, with our spirit. Because when they're operating out of fear and out of ego, it's the same energy they're putting out there that's not making any changes. And what we're doing, that's what Standing Rock was so powerful, the spirit, our heart, our love. And that's what bringing about the change. That is what woken up the whole world. So I'm proud to stand with all my relatives, walking forward on this good path. So just thankful that we can gather today, you know, on these sacred lands of the Coast Salish people, the Duwamish and Suquamish, Muckleshoot, Tulalibs, all those who used to come here at this gathering place. We're doing it again. So thank you so much.
Great. So thank you, everyone. We're going to end it in a prayer. I just want to thank you again so much for standing and being here this whole time. This has been really beautiful, and I'm so grateful to be able to share this in Seattle with my Seattle relatives and family. Like we said earlier, things to keep in mind is to just be aware of what's happening with pipelines happening all over the country. Stay aware of what's happening here in Seattle, the anti-trans bathroom bill in Washington. Stay woke on that. Stay woke on Uncle Ike's. That was really an awful experience. And, you know, stay woke on, what's that? No new youth jail here in Seattle. Nikita Oliver for mayor.
HR 101, please call your senator and your House of Representatives for the state. It's to take over utility easements, which actually could open up Cherry Point again up in Bellingham. So if you please call and email tomorrow, you can go onto the Washington State government and say 101, and you can do your little email to your people that you need to send it to. And I'd also send it to the sponsors of the bill as well. It's HR 101. It's already gone to the House and it's halfway through the Senate now. This is when we need to have everyone call tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you again. Go ahead and give Standing Rock Two-Spirit Nation a like on Facebook to stay on top of what they're all up to. This is a fundraiser, so please, if you have anything to donate, please pass this envelope around. And yeah, so could someone lead us in a prayer? And if everyone can stand and take off their hats, thank you so much again.
And I also want to say that to each and every person, that if you feel safe enough to speak up, please use your voice in every instance of oppression, even if that means that it's someone that looks like you, someone that identifies the way that you do, that especially like to speak up and interrupt it when it's happening.
Cheke na oda chantewa stela kena chat siara o hidikana inaji kashla roke o cheke na hacha chantewa stela na oksa to kashla creator Thank you for this night, and thank you for this ability for bringing us here in this way to put our hearts on our chests, and to be able to hear and see each and every one of us good intentions, and to have the ability to see that the medicine that we each carry, to give us the ability to recall and to remember and to hold on to each and every blessing that we were offered at Ocheti Shakowing, that we were offered by being a part of what Ocheti Shakowing taught us, and the lessons that we will continue to push forward to our loved ones, our families, those who are sick and those who are hungry and those who are in need and those who have been silenced. I continue to pray to Ngashla that you continue to guide us with good intentions so that we can be those voices, so we can be those ears and eyes, and so that we can continue standing with our prayers, with our faith, and with our love. And I thank you to Ngashla for bringing us here in a safe way and to help us continue walking forward to return to where we came from with blessings, with beauty, and to continue fighting this way for our Oyate, Wapila Tanka, Tankasi. I'd also like to end with a prayer song.